Do you need an angle kit? We're going to be perfecting the ratio of the rack, the fundamentals of driving, which is understanding the vehicle dynamics. New drivers are essentially turning to the left, flooring it until either the car is done understeering and the rear finally kicks out, or they run out of track and go off track. Hey everybody, welcome to today's Tip Tuesday. We are going to be talking about angle kits. Do you need an angle kit and why? Let's get into it nice and quick. I have some notes here in front of me, so forgive me. Let's start with the first question I have written down. Is a big angle kit necessary? The short answer is yes. The long answer is no. We'll get into that. The next question is going to be the importance of an angle kit and what it does. So we can talk about that right away. An angle kit should increase the steering angle, perfect the steering ratio, so that's essentially the same amount of turns to lock on your steering wheel should be the full amount of angle on the kit. There are some kits out there that give you only like one turn and it goes all the way to lock, so the ratio would be off there. The angle kit should correct the Ackerman, and it should also improve geometry for drifting. This could include roll center, KPI, and a bunch of other things. At what point should you buy an angle kit? So back to the very first question, is big angle necessary? We'll extend that a little bit longer than just yes or no. The reasons why big angle would be necessary is in a competition format and in a over rotating saving scenario. So big angle kit is really going to help you most in competition where they judge you based on angle. And then if you're tandeming with friends or having fun at a fun event, it is going to prevent you from basically ever over rotating. So those are going to be the reasons for a big full lock 70-degree angle kit. Let's talk about the importance of an angle kit and what it does. So the first thing that I said is that it increases your steering angle. Of course, we are putting the kit on to get more angle. The other thing that an angle kit does is by increasing the angle of the front steering, you're also increasing the leverage and the forces on the suspension components. So if you're buying an angle kit, expect some extra maintenance. It is going to be required as the loads that we are now applying on the components is much higher, and that's just what drifting is. So steering racks, ball joints, these things will end up going faster. We're going to be perfecting the ratio of the rack. Whenever I design an angle kit, I measure the rack's overall travel, calculate the amount of angle that I want this kit to get, and then that gives me the steering ratio. The ratio is the distance between the control arm ball joint and the outer tie rod ball joint. That is what determines how much angle the steering rack will allow us to get on the car. Correcting Ackerman, obviously drifting requires a much lower amount of Ackerman than stock cars. So we usually put in a range of plus or minus 2 degrees. We do have Ackerman plates that allow for variances in between those figures, but basically we're going for a +2, 0, and then very seldom do people ever run a negative Ackerman setup. Some people prefer it, very few do, but it is an option on the kit. The angle kit should also improve the geometry in all aspects of the kit. So the cars are typically lowered, so we're going to do some roll center correction. We want to maybe add a little bit of KPI. We want to do something with the camber so that we're usually driving at lock, at somewhere between 30 and 50 degrees at all times. So we want to perfect the tire's contact and the amount of grip that we can get in that steering range, and that requires us to run some camber, so the kit needs to add that as well. These are just tips, so let's get into at what point should you buy an angle kit. The points that I put down for when you should buy an angle kit are when you can transition without spinning out, when you can drift with momentum instead of flooring it and turning. This is what I see most often, is new drivers are essentially turning to the left, flooring it until either the car is done understeering and the rear finally kicks out, or they run out of track and go off track. So this is typically what happens. So once you are able to momentum drift, that means you're going to be weight transferring and then initiating essentially. This can be done on a skid pad or a very open track if you're a new driver. And then when you are able to steer with the rear of the car with minimal steering inputs. So this would be my final point of when you should upgrade yourself to an angle kit, is when you are able to have minimal steering inputs. So the wheel is essentially not even requiring your hand on it. Your hand on the wheel is simply just stabilizing it. And you are able to throttle modulate and steer the rear of the car with minimal steering inputs. These are going to be the main points for when you can do these things. You should then consider getting an angle kit. Why would you not just go out and buy an angle kit? This is another very important point. And it has to do with multiple different things. The best scenario that I could give you is if somebody was playing online or playing video games often, and they often used cheat codes to progress in the game. Why is this going to be a bad habit to do? Basically, you're not building a foundation that is going to sustain your progression within the sport of drifting or within the video game in this example. And if you were ever put into a scenario like playing online, like multiplayer, for example, in the game, you're going to find yourself significantly worse at the game versus other players that have done their due diligence and gone through the training and the process of the game in order to learn it without cheating. Cheating in the game can have something to do with, like, there are games where you can just buy the best. You can get unlimited whatever using cheat codes. So we've all done it. Cheat codes were far more prevalent when we were kids because you could just type in some random code or push a bunch of buttons and it would do something. Nowadays, with the subscription world, I think these kids are actually just paying like actual money to upgrade everything and to essentially cheat and skip steps. That is unfortunate that now you have to pay for that, and we didn't do that in the past. But on the same note, in drifting, if you haven't built your foundation off of the fundamentals of driving, which is understanding the vehicle dynamics and when the traction is broken and how to control the car, and all of these things, an angle kit and something like a handbrake are going to be crutches to you, but to someone like me or someone that's done their due diligence, these things are tools to us. So if we ever find each other in competition, you're going against somebody that has tools to use while you're using crutches instead. This is going to be a big negative for you. So I have always advocated for not even using an angle kit and not even using a handbrake. You're going to struggle, you're going to have a hard time, but what you should be doing is probably a welded diff, a steering wheel, and a seat, some seat belts. Get yourself comfortable and sitting tight in the car. Do not get an angle kit at first and struggle like we all did before angle kits were ever a thing. Obviously, I designed angle kits because of the progression that I was doing. I started modding knuckles and stuff many years ago. I was able to utilize these as a tool once I was able to drive a car with 30 degrees of angle. And here we are today as a veteran drifter and going to Drift Masters, which brings me to my next point, Drift Masters. I have taken a couple notes here. I am competing in Drift Masters, for those of you who don't know. That is happening this week. I'm actually flying out today, and I'm going to give you some point form things to know about Drift Masters. What is Drift Masters? Okay, so Drift Masters is Drift Masters Grand Prix, GP. They changed the name from European Championship. Drift Masters is basically going global. They want to have captured the largest drifting audience in the world, and they want to become the best drifting series in the world, which arguably it already is. The driving there is insane, and I'm honored to be a driver in Drift Masters. Why am I participating in Drift Masters and not any other events? Working with Drift Games and getting my car over to Europe has already increased exposure for the company. It has already made a huge difference in how we're able to network ourselves. So that is the reason why it's a market that's untapped. I'm fairly well known in North America, so to drive in any series here would be, although good and beneficial, it wouldn't be as good or as beneficial. Plus, working with Drift Games and all the guys there and getting to travel because of my work is a dream come true, so that's why I am in Drift Masters. Who's going with me? Okay, so Kyle on the channel is going to be my mechanic in Drift Masters, and then Chris Knapp, owner of English Town Raceway, is going to be my spotter. Why did I choose Chris as my spotter? I've already used Matthew Bertillon and Cam here as my spotters, both of which are fantastic and great, but they are also very busy. They have families, they have work, they have other things. Chris is heavily invested in drifting as his lifestyle, as he runs a drift school. Plus, Chris is a character when it comes to interacting with people. He's pretty much an expert with socializing with people. So as someone going to a new grid, we need to have someone that is open and willing to talk to anyone and everyone. That's really beneficial to have as a spotter. Plus, he has a lot of experience as a spotter, and he's a good friend. So it makes sense to have Chris on the team, and we'll all be flying out to Spain Tuesday today. Where can you watch Drift Masters? Drift Masters is on Red Bull TV. It's a free app that you can get. I believe that they post on YouTube either during the show or after the live stream, but Red Bull TV runs Drift Masters, and they have 110 or more people running the live stream. So this will be the best live stream you've ever seen regarding drifting. It is absolutely incredible. If you've ever watched Drift Masters years prior, it's insane how they can even get a 120 or 240 frame per second slow-mo immediately after the run. They run a serious program when it comes to the live stream for Drift Masters, and it is always on the ball. What should you expect as a viewer? Drift Masters has some of the best drivers in the world, some of the best cars ever built, and then they use the best tires available. The good thing about Drift Masters is they do not regulate the tires, so everyone just runs the best. And why is this good? It makes a level playing field for everyone, where in other series, certain tires are regulated and certain tires are obviously better than others, making it almost too difficult to basically jump the tire gap of performance. And I talked about tires before on a Tip Tuesday. If you max out the tires, you are already quite a bit ahead of anyone else, even with the rest of your car not set up that well. So tires being one of the most important things in drifting, Drift Masters has tires open. You can run whatever you want, but obviously everyone is going to be running the Velino tire, which is arguably the best tire today. We are going to be running the 285 RS Velino, and have run it before. It's an insane tire. So you're going to see the Corvette go faster than it ever has. And it's also very hard on drivetrain and components. So we're going to see how the Corvette fares and myself with this tire, especially on Spain. It's a huge track. I recommend following them on Instagram. They post regularly and they've already posted the layout. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be gone for the next week. You guys might see some content from Jack and the boys here, but I will be filming and vlogging in Spain, where we will post that next week and you guys can watch it live on Red Bull TV this weekend. Spain is also 6 hours ahead of us, so whatever time it's live streaming, it's probably going to be early in the morning for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Got the nerves, and I'm very excited to be running Drift Masters, and I don't even know what to think. When we get there, we're going to find out a lot of things. We're going to learn a lot of things. Anyways, guys, we'll see you on the next video. I'm out.